People always start to take actions when their own interests are about to be harmed. When the theories about climate change was first proposed, people thought it was a scientific achievement, and this should not be related to their daily lives. However, years later, environment has become a hot topic in society, and our lives have been filled with climate change keywords, such as carbon emissions, nitrogen dioxide, and global warming. From this perspective, coming from different countries and cultures, we will share what social impacts does climate change have under our own cultures. Compared with the economies in the US, the economies in China differ from city to city. And today, I'd like to share the story of my hometown, Tianjin, which is a beautiful coastal city in North China, and it is famous for its heavy industry and manufacturing. These are the GDPs of my hometown in the last 10 years, which represents the overall economic situation of the city. And we can see a huge gap between GDP in 2018 and that in 2019. So what happened at that time? When I was in high school, every morning I could always see something like fog in the air. Fog consists of water droplets, but this is a smog, which consists of smoke. And this is caused by excessive development of heavy industry in my hometown. From then on, everyone in the city wear face masks. Gradually, with such a severe smog, less workers came to my hometown because they cared more about their health. My hometown achieved its lowest GDP over the last 60 years in 2018. My mom lost her job due to the bad economy, and everyone is protesting against heavy industry in the city. In the following years, although the governments invest a lot to rebuild the environment, Tianjin's economy could never return to its flourish. The golden signs by my shoes records all historic events of the city. But who will record the irreversible negative impact of climate change on the society and economy? Under the culture that industry represents everything for the economy, all we could do is to work hard to prevent our next generation from becoming the victim again. This is my story about how climate change and air pollution affect people's life in China. Then let's go to the US to see the social impacts that climate change brings there.
Hi, my name is Estrella and I'm from the United States, specifically San Diego, California, and I think it's very important for everyone to educate themselves on the issue of climate change itself, especially on the effects that it will have on our economy. For example, the US's GDP, or gross domestic product, which is essentially the total value of everything created within a country's borders, and the US's GDP will decrease by 20%, and this drop will be permanent, as well as the fact that we will see a rise in temperatures as a result of global warming. And then along with this, we will also see a rise in food prices, and this is due to the fact that once temperatures rise over 85 degrees, it becomes very hard to harvest certain plants. Plus, we will also see an increase in immigration from Mexico and the rest of Latin America due to climate conditions such as droughts and other extreme weather, which may affect their crops and therefore their livelihood. And this isn't to mention the disproportionate effect climate change can have on the poor. For example, severe weather conditions like tornadoes, floods, heat waves, wildfires, which more often than not result in huge property damages, and it's likely the poor who are not able to pay for these damages out of pocket. So they're just left with this debt unless they have insurance, which has also risen in price due to the increase in accidents related to climate conditions.
In terms of policy, the government has implemented economic subsidies for environmentally friendly industries, such as new energy vehicles. But at the same time, traditional industries has also been affected. In Hefei, China, the government closed many thermal power plants. As the water temperature rises, the lake water has been eutrophied to produce algae, and the government has also issued a fishing ban. We visited an algae treatment plant and a closed thermal plant, and interviewed 2 residents living nearby.
现在我们在一个这个蓝藻处理的工厂，然后因为之前嘛，这种大面积的捕捞啊、打鱼啊，然后给环境造成了一点污染，就比如说蓝藻泛滥啊，这种水的富营养。然后现在政府呢就禁止，现在这个打鱼呢就被禁止了，然后反而那些渔船被换成这种处理蓝藻的船。 这个早就关了，没了，因为现在停车场全是车，以前这都咔咔往外冒黑烟，现在关完了，就是政府早就不让搞了，政府00几年的时候已经不让了。
In China, the government's policies based on environmental issues have caused many workers in traditional industries to lose their jobs, such as workers in thermal power plants and fishermen. Now we turn our attention to the United States and see how the US government is responding to climate change.
Hi, my name's Emily Infante, and I'm going to be talking to you today about the relationship between climate change and the United States government. So first and foremost, 67% of Americans say that the U.S. government does too little for climate change. The United States currently has two outstanding commitments to climate change. First and foremost, within our own nation here in the U.S., we have enacted the Clean Air Act in the late 60s. So the Clean Air Act regulates national air pollution, sets standards so that we keep our air quality at a decent level and that we also help reduce climate change through a reduction in our carbon emissions. So furthermore, we have also joined the Paris Climate Agreement, which holds a lot of developed nations and underdeveloped nations to a certain carbon emissions threshold, so a little standard, and this standard helps reduce the amount of climate change that is occurring around the world. So within the United States, we can sense the citizens who live here can sense a very polarized view when it comes to climate change. The statistics also show this polarization. So 31% of Republicans and 88% of Democrats believe that climate change is a threat to U.S. well-being. The numbers being so greatly different show the polarization in our political spectrum when it comes to climate change and how we move towards making legislation for this. If our parties are divided on this topic, it will lead to a divided vote on legislation, which makes it harder for things to get done. My hope for the future is that we can work together and we can learn how to have proper dialogue and learn to look at science without bias so that we can create legislation that allows us to move forward and to really reach our carbon emission goals.
We come from different countries in the world,
Living under different cultures,
But we have to face the climate change and its social problems together
to create a more sustainable and eco-friendly future.